Thank you for logging on to the PawCast for the week of Monday, September 24th through Friday the 28th. Hello, I'm Mr. Andrews.
And I'm Miss Pegram.
And here's what's happening on our team this week.
All right, hello again, everybody. We are starting a new week, hopefully a full week this week. It seems like we haven't had a full week since the beginning of school, but hopefully we'll get back in the groove of things this week. Like I said, we missed a couple days last week due to the storm and teacher work days, so we're going to kind of continue the vocabulary into the first part. Monday, we're going to introduce word parts and work with Latin roots and see how those help us to discover new words, and those help us with expanding our vocabulary. So the students will eventually have a quiz on the Latin roots, so make sure that they're bringing those home and studying and that kind of thing. Secondly, towards the middle and later part of the week, we are going to move into author's purpose and author's theme. And we're just going to continue on with my teacher's an alien book, and incorporate those aspects into that book and talk about what the theme is and the author's purpose for creating it. I will also continue with the ERLAs and continue testing the students on reading levels and discovering those and starting them on their reading power goals as well. And lastly, make sure that you know the rescheduled date for pictures. It is October 1st. All of 5th grade is October 1st. So mark that in your calendars. We'll see you next week.
During the math and science portion of our week, for math, on Monday, we're going to continue with multiplying decimal numbers. And we've spent last Thursday and Friday looking at the inner workings of what really happens when we're multiplying decimal numbers. And now we're going to work towards an algorithm. Still keeping in mind how to use a chart and how to use an area model to solve, but also now the algorithm and the placement of the decimal within our products. Tuesday through Friday of this week, we're going to spend time looking at the inner workings of division. We need to talk about what are we really doing when we divide, when we take a group of something and share it equally. So what does that mean, and what does it look like when we're actually doing that process? We'll talk about remainders and where to place the decimal in our quotient. Not sure about an assessment this week. We may have a mini quiz somewhere along the way just for a good checkup. In science, we're going to move from the physical characteristics of things, where we're talking about properties of matter, and we're going to move on to physical and chemical changes. So we're going to spend some time with that on Monday through Thursday, and then we're going to have a quiz on Thursday this week. Wanted to check and make sure of my days. Also, parents and students, be sure that you're continuing to study your vocabulary. That's an ongoing thing. So all the vocabulary that we started out with in this unit, you're making sure that you're still familiar with that, and any vocabulary that gets added to your journal, every night we need to go home and refresh ourselves on that. So if it's vocabulary cards or whatever is going to help you the most, be sure that you're keeping up with that. Quiz on Thursday.
the capital. Oh, which one will we learn about this week?
And now, where in the United States is Mr. Andrews? Thank you, Mr. Wilhelm. He sings our jingle that comes on and goes out. Some people were asking, who sings that song? It's not me. That's the voice of Mr. Wilhelm, and he's been doing our jingle for about 6 or 7 years now. So thank you very much, Mr. Wilhelm. Now for our state. Now, the first clue is, well, I don't have a selfie of me in front of the state capitol, even though I've been to the state and I've seen the state capitol. But when me and Mrs. Andrews were visiting there, we were really there to watch the Rockies play baseball. And it's in the capital city. I just didn't think about going to the Capitol building, so I've got a selfie of me and Mrs. Andrews at the stadium. Another clue is that this state has the highest elevation of any state in the United States, with more than 1,000 mountain peaks that are over 10,000 feet high. And 54 of those tower above 14,000 feet. That's some pretty tall mountain peaks when you can have that many and then 54 of them over 14,000 feet tall. You know, if I had gone to the Capitol building in this capital city, the 13th step is exactly 1 mile above sea level. And the last of our clues, the United States Air Force Academy is also located in this state. Now this week you're going to need to be able to have the capital city of this state and the correct state's name. Mom and Dad's signature on your bonus answer, that lets us know that they also watched the PawCast with you this week.
Where is Mr. Andrews? He's in the U.S. He's at a capital. Oh, which one will we learn about this week?
Good luck, and let's have a great week together.